Welcome back, guys. This is the eSports Report presented by Xbox One. Max, JP, and I breaking down all of the action from UMG Dallas this weekend. If you watched every single match the entire weekend, you have matched JP. Congratulations, JP, for most hours watched out of anyone on the UMG staff.
I don't hope anyone does that, dude.
How many hours did you watch?
I don't know. I mean,
too many?
If you think about it, 8 to 12, 10 to 12.
10 and 12 hours a day.
So you watched more Call of Duty than you slept in 2 days? Is that possible?
No,
okay,
maybe.
You actually slept? Did you sleep at all?
I took some breaks.
Sleeps for the week, JP.
I didn't watch every single game,
no,
but
you don't tell
I watched
people you take breaks. You're like, I watched every match. I know what happened at every moment.
Well, let me ask you this. How many times did you get a chance to watch Envy throughout the weekend?
I watched them quite a bit. I mean, they had some off-stream games. They looked all right in pool play. I believe they finished second.
Yep.
2-2.
Only lost to Optic Gaming there.
Or they finished 3-1.
Yep, 3-1.
But this team, they look great in the Pro League. You have Octane, #1 KD in the Pro League right now. JCap, Aqua, and Looney. This was a newer squad coming into Season 3 with Octane, JCap, and Aqua completing the squad with Looney staying on the squad. This team looked really good. I mean, it was just inconsistencies with some players. I know JCap, he even tweeted out after the event that his performance was absolutely inexcusable. I think he had a .89 KD throughout the whole event.
Pretty good.
It was just not his event and Envy's event in all. So, I mean, I was expecting big things. We had them at, what, 4th, 3rd?
I had them in 3rd.
You had them in 3rd? What did you have them at, Puckett?
4th.
I had them in a proper 5th, 6th placement.
Oh, you had them
Did you?
Oh, wow.
I had them 4th.
Oh, okay.
Maven had them 6th.
I wish.
I was expecting them to place 4th. They looked dominant in the Pro League. However, it was just not able to transfer it into UMG Dallas.
And when you look at their losses, there's really only one that's kind of surprising for me. Envy, you talked about VVV having the easiest run, maybe through the losers bracket. Envy had the hardest. Let's take a look at some of their numbers, starting off with pool play. XGN taking down Killa, Study, and crew 3-1. Then Dunkin' No Donuts got the hands. Tactical Turtles also defeated with the 3-0 sweep. But then they played Optic Gaming, and really, JP, this was one of the matches that I thought should have been main stage, highlighted. Everyone should be talking about it before the event even started. What went down against OG?
I mean, you see right there, the 3-0 sweep. It was an absolute blowout. I was expecting a little bit more from Envy. I believe they were able to take him to Game 5 in the first match of the Pro League, and they just get absolutely whopped in this first game with a 3-0 sweep by Optic Gaming.
They got whopped.
They got whopped.
Whopped.
Optic Gaming takes them down, but still at 2nd place in pool. They're able to move on into the winner's bracket. In bracket play, they started things off with a 3-1 upset over Elevate, who was perfect throughout pool play, Max.
Yeah, and that when it's fun to hear you say, oh, Envy upset Elevate, but you know, this Envy roster kind of unproven still. You know, we've seen them do a lot of nice things, and Aqua and Octane picking those two players up after Season 3 relegation was huge for this team, in my opinion. But they're able to take the 3-1 win over the flawless team from Pool D, Elevate. Then they run to the Red Militia, and then they get, as JP would say, whopped.
And then, of course, FaZe and Optic Gaming were the two teams that they still had to play. FaZe 0-3, another 3-0 from a top 2 team. And then when they faced off against Optic Gaming, they were able to steal a game, force it to go to Game 4, but Optic Gaming at the end of the day put an end to their run. That dropped them down to 5th and 6th. And a lot of people will probably read into this and say TCM's definitely the better team versus Envy, but I think anytime you're in this position, it's really tough to be there mentally. You're out of the tournament basically, but there was still quite a lot on the line here for Envy and TCM in this match.
Yeah, I mean, after getting knocked out, they essentially go 1-6 against OG throughout all of UMG Dallas. They have to play a 5th place match that we're going to take a look at in a little bit against TCM, but the series was very close. That, you know, that 3-2 score is very indicative of this match. But like the Biolab hardpoint, the Game 4 came down to the last seconds. Like Envy was able to close like a 20-point gap in, you know, was it like minimal, like crazy amount of time. I was like, well, you closed 21-point gap in 20 seconds. So, you know, finishing 6th, I still think this is kind of like, with this Envy roster, this probably still is like a 6th, 5th team.
I think if Envy plays Denial, they beat Denial. That's how strong I think Envy was playing throughout this tournament. Their weakness, though, seemed to be getting objective-oriented. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. For now, though, I want to compare their online versus their LAN stats, JP. Envy doing pretty darn well in the Pro League. They took Optic Gaming to Game 5. They've been looking tough against all their other opponents. How did they perform on LAN?
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about JCab having a pretty poor performance at UMG Dallas. He's been doing pretty well in the Pro League, heading around that 1.0 KD with a 0.97. Aqua actually did better at Dallas with a 1.02 compared to his Season 3 KD. And then Octane, he goes with a 1.12 KD at Dallas compared to his league-leading Season 3 KD at 1.27, which is not...
It's a ridiculous number.
Yeah,
1.27. You can't do that every day.
But 1.12 is not that bad either. I believe it was 12th in the whole tournament out of all the players, which is not a bad tournament at all. I mean, the last 2 tournaments he finished with the top 5 KD. I mean, this was a great performance by him. It was just inconsistencies throughout the whole team that was the turning point.
Right now, Envy is number 3 overall in Pro League. You see Octane's number, a big factor there. I was impressed, though, by Aqua being able to improve upon his KD. He looked like a really strong Slayer. SMG was on point throughout this. I think if you get a little bit more out of JCap in some of the crucial matches, Envy is definitely a competitor that can hang with FaZe, Optic Gaming, and Denial, your big 3.
Yeah, Envy's success is really reliant on JCap. We haven't really seen him in that Call of Duty Champs form since then.
He's had some really great uplink games that I've seen where he just kind of takes over as the Monster Slayer in addition to Octane.
Yeah, especially in the Pro League.
But he's also kind of that filler role where you're not expected to drop the biggest numbers. You're just expected to help get that job done.
Yeah, when he was on Denial, we were talking about how, him and Attach would have to be consistent in terms of slaying. And, he'll do a bit of the dirty work on this Envy squad. But like you said, he said his performance was inexcusable. And this team right now, like you said, is third in the Pro League. I don't know if that stays the way it is going forward. FaZe obviously 2-1. They're probably going to catch up. Optic Nation are 3-1. So this team worries me if JCap can't play extremely consistent.
I mean, it's not like it was such a bad performance. They end up losing 3-0, is it, to FaZe in the winners bracket semifinals, and then they have to play Optic Gaming in their first losers bracket.
Welcome back to the losers bracket, boys.
You have the top 2 teams, you're facing them back-to-back, and you get 2 losses back-to-back.
Envy had the hardest bracket of the tournament. I'm going to say it all day long. We do have some gameplay from Envy. We'll keep talking over it. This is some VOD of FaZe versus Envy. Now, unlike the other videos where we showed you kind of the bottom 3 teams getting dominated, this is an example of FaZe and Envy going toe-to-toe in a very close game. Envy actually outslays FaZe in this one by 8 kills, but they still somehow managed to lose the game, Max.
Yeah, and we've been seeing this more and more as AW has progressed. We've seen teams outslay in hardpoints and lose. Like probably the best example of that is Prophecy at Season 3 relegation. Aqua drops 53 and they lose to ISO. Octane also drops like 45. But I mean, JP, in terms of outslaying,
yeah, this was not even a small margin. I believe they end up losing by around 55 points, which is almost like a whole hill.
Right.
So I think it tells more about how FaZe is so consistent with being like a dominant slaying power, but they're able to use their rotations effectively. Like, they don't have to outslay the team because they're performing so well as a whole unit that Envy, even though they do outslay, they're not able to contest with FaZe in this hard point.
And you can see FaZe here just keeping Envy out. Envy's constantly in that kill feed, but the kill's not on the hard point. And even there, you get the kill, but the opponent just runs out. Attach starting to hunt down the people on rotation. But look at this next hard point. You're going to have FaZe trying to pinch from all directions. I thought Envy was looking pretty good once they get the SMGs out in a short-range scenario.
Well, that was a massive double team kill there by Aqua.
Whoops.
But yeah, I mean, they're getting these kills, but they're not getting the more important kill, like the rotation kills to start off the new hard points. Those are the kills that you want to be getting. So even if you're outslaying them by 8 kills, those 8 kills could be meaningless kills. They could not do anything in terms of like effectively getting the hard point or anything like that.
So, I mean, Parker, like we see, they go 1-6 against OG throughout the entire tournament. They lose 0-3 to FaZe here. But, I mean, she said, in terms of their top 3 standing amongst teams in AW right now, you think they would beat Denial?
I think they could. I definitely think they could. After watching Denial this weekend, I think Envy versus Denial, maybe it goes to a Game 5, but I actually give Envy the advantage in the respawns. I think uplink is one of their strengths. You see the talent from the team constantly. The way that Octane just clears lanes for this team has been incredible. The whole squad has potential to go off at any moment. I think Aqua and Octane are the 2 most explosive players on this squad. Looney is becoming kind of their consistent backbone, and it is going to be up to JCap. You know, he's the world champion. He's the most experienced veteran on this squad. I think when he plays well, that's when you're going to see Envy having a chance to win tournaments.
Going forward, the next major land is going to be Gfinity, the 100K. If that team bombs out there, I'm going to say, you know, top 8 placing, they finish, you know, 7th, 8th, even maybe top 12.
No team change.
No team change?
No team change. I think this is a squad that sticks together unless they kind of make a surprise mutiny-style movement and kick off JCap. Like, I don't see Aqua or Octane getting replaced, and if you talk to any of the pro players out there, they'll tell you Looney is still definitely one of the best in the game right now.
Yeah, they're very invested in Looney, obviously keeping him the only player from the old Envy squad of Proof, Teep, and Saints. Looney has had a fantastic AW, but like you said, I think the only roster change they would end up making is dropping JCap, and I think if he has, you know, another poor event like he did here, maybe they consider it, but I mean, JP, what do you
think? I think this is a top 4 team for sure. I think they just had a really unlucky bracket with first facing FaZe and getting 3-0, the champions of UMG Dallas, and then having to play Optic in the first round of the losers bracket. The loser bracket, your first match is something to get you like hyped up and come back and gain that momentum that you just lost from that winner's bracket. But when you face such a strong team like Optic Gaming in your first round, that is just so demoralizing because you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go to losers bracket. Maybe I can win 1 or 2 games. Maybe that'll build my momentum. I can go back into the grand finals through the losers bracket. But when you get that bracket with the OG, that is just horrible. It's so demoralizing.
It's a rough way to finish, that's for darn sure. Looking at the stats just now as we peek in around 3 minutes and 30 seconds still to go. You got Octane, +2. You got Aqua, +1. Looney, +1. And JCap at even. So the outslaying wasn't a huge deal, but you can definitely see the difference on the scoreboard. And honestly, I think a lot of credit goes to Attach, the way he played that bar hill earlier in the video. I think that was where you saw FaZe kind of pulling away. Envy's always right back in it, but it just seemed that FaZe has players that are able to stay alive in the hard point when they're the last man standing, like Attach is right here. I think that was one of the real testaments that I saw from this Envy squad. They need to get better at staying alive. Agreed.
Very agreed. And, like, just the fact that, like, I think Aqua is a little maybe too aggressive in his SMG play, you know, not playing too much for the objective. But really, that's where, like, you know, JCap would have to step up and do some of the dirty work. But here against FaZe, they're able to get, like, you know, like you said, JP, some meaningless kills, outslain by 5. But, you know, unfortunate as they fall, you know, by 55 points here to FaZe and they get swept. Definitely the hardest bracket, I would say, Puckett.
They had the roughest bracket. Envy, though, still manages to finish top 8. They don't finish in the money, though. They lost to the team we'll be talking about after the commercial break, TCM. Terrible start to the tournament with a rough placing in pool play, but made one hell of a run through the losers bracket. We'll talk about that on the other side of this commercial.